What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and I guess this is the last day that I'll get away with making quote-unquote New Year's content. We've had our first full week of WWE programming. We had a SmackDown on the second because of how the days felt, but we've had our first, Raw, NXT, SmackDown week out of the way, so we are now up to our nuts in the guts of 2026. How do we feel about the new year so far? Because all I hear all last December and all this week is that WWE hasn't done anything and it's all business as usual, and they're not shaking any cages, they're not doing anything, everything's all cut and paste, everything's predictable, everything's tickety-poo. Now, my initial response to that is that encompassing sort of like the last week and a half of last year and the first sort of week and a half of this year, a couple things that were supposed to happen in some people's minds didn't happen. We didn't hand the NXT title to TNA X Division champion Leon Slater, which, again, I will agree, I was pushing for it. I think it's amazing, an amazing opportunity, rather, for a guy like Leon Slater that WWE has already platformed pretty fucking well for somebody that doesn't work in their company. They didn't decide to do that. We'll get to that in a second. We didn't put the world title on Braun Breaker, which the way people responded to that match may be a good thing, because if you look at that match and all the criticism that came out of that, do you want that to be associated with your first world title run? Because, you can't hold a title for 100 days until you hold it one day, and if that one day is under so much scrutiny, then maybe we take a second run at it later on. And we didn't get the debuts that everybody thought were coming. We didn't get Jericho, we didn't get Page, we didn't get Baker. Now, I'll give a little bit of leeway on the Jericho thing, because there was one social media clip that kind of hinted at it. Other than that, the name Jericho's never been mentioned on WWE TV. As much as I want to criticize AEW, the one time that they said, I'm not really the boss around here, I think it was Britt Baker, and everybody got pissed off that it didn't immediately mean that they were getting Mercedes Moné. You guys know what I think about Mercedes Moné, but be that as it may. And it wasn't. And it was like, yeah, of course they teased you for interest and to get conversation going and whatever. And it does indicate that we are getting them later on down the line. There's not been a lick of anything hinted other than online conversation about Page or Britt Baker. Now, do I want Jericho, Page, and Britt Baker on my WWE TV? Of course I do. I want to see the trend continue of, as soon as they've got those three initials on their pay stub, they're terrible people. It's already happening to Jericho. It's already happening to Page. It's already happening to Baker, based on rumors. We've seen it happen to Penta and Phoenix and Ricky Saints and Cody Rhodes to a certain degree. Jade Cargill, obviously. So for nothing else, I just want to see the hypocrisy continue. But of course, Jericho's great. Look in the mirror if you're going to say that he's not. Look in the mirror if you're trying to denigrate the contributions to the wrestling world that this guy has made. I mean, this is not even a dig at AEW. AEW knew what they had with Chris Jericho. They made him their inaugural champion. It is what it is. Britt Baker was the first woman signed to the company, I think, and Paige was, a big shake-up for the company, and then they didn't do anything with it. So a lot of things that we thought were going to happen, that we prayed were going to happen, that we were told was going to happen, that we were so sure was going to happen. The NXT title didn't go over to TNA. We didn't get a new world champion in Breaker, which everybody has sort of transmorphed into this weird ageism conversation, which is terrible. It's just gross. Look as far back as somebody like a Mickie James for the negative effects that companies being ageist and fans being ageist can have on somebody and on a career and on the general outlook, etc. And we didn't get the three debuts, returns, whatever you want to call it, that we thought we were going to get: Jericho, Page, and Britt Baker. So because we didn't get what we wanted, we pretend that we didn't get anything, that nothing is new, that everything is as it was, and everything, like I say, is just tickety-poo. You could, transmorph and transplant an episode of Raw from this week to an episode of Raw from, say, October or something like that, which just isn't the case. And the prime example, the easiest example, because I like to go the easy route, I like to go the simple route, is new shit, new faces, and new champions. Now, new champions doesn't mean first-time champions. Let me be clear on that. I'm not reaching that far out. Breaker becoming the world champion if it wasn't for all the scrutiny that went around that match, the botched Hurricane Rana, which was bad, the shot on the outside that everybody thought was a botch. Jake and I discussed this on the last pod, but the shot on the outside where, Punk just couldn't do the dive and he landed on his face. He landed on his face because he got smacked out of midair by his opponent. So, Breaker being the world champion would have been really big, and it would have been what are they saying with the ageist thing? He's the first champion under 30 in a while or whatever. NXT putting the NXT title on X Division champion Leon Slater and letting him carry it over to TNA, to their AMC debut, which is this week, to their Genesis pay-per-view, which is this week, would have been fantastic. They decided not to. I get it. But new faces, new champions, and this is all in the span of about 3 weeks, and I might be stretching that a little bit one way or the other. Some of this came out of the pre-taped content from the holidays, which was not the greatest, because there's always the caveats that come with pre-taped content, but I'm always going to be all for WWE letting their talent, have an actual holiday season. I don't want to say Christmas season, not everybody celebrates Christmas, but a holiday, a New Year's season is fine. A couple of pre-taped episodes aren't going to hurt us. We were in Berlin 2 nights ago for SmackDown, and the show had already happened, and I got spoiled of the main event. But you know what? The people in Berlin got a really cool live show. So let's get into it. Now, when I say new faces, for the most part, I'm saying people that have come up from NXT. Now, are the people that have come up from NXT new to me, to Jake, to other people that follow NXT? No, but it's that same feeling that we used to get if you saw somebody on the indies. For me, it was Shotzi Blackheart. Shotzi Blackheart, I watched wrestle quite a bit at Destiny Wrestling. Check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list. It's fine. And then when she came to NXT, I got to be super excited about that. WWE has created their own mini version of that, because not everybody that watches WWE watches NXT. So you can still say to the people that only watch main roster, hey, X person is coming up, and they're really good. I think you'll like them. The one exception to this that wasn't an NXT call-up, that was just a 5 or 6 year return, I think, was the return of Matt Cardona, and I did a pod on that when it happened. But it's worth revisiting the fact that Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona, left WWE, took his WWE-ish persona into the indies as almost like a counter to the indies, went and did all the deathmatch stuff, went and became the indie god, the deathmatch king, etc., 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 and was always, this is the thing that I don't get, he didn't really want to do anything for the indies, he always wanted to come back to the WWE, I've uncovered the mystery. It's not a mystery. He was very open about, I'll go back to WWE. Yes, my goal is to get back to WWE. He showed up in AEW for a cup of coffee when Cody was still there, and that's when everybody was making the Sweet Life of Zack and Cody jokes. And I mean, he spent a lot of time in TNA. I don't think he was ever contracted to them. I think everything he did in TNA was as like a freelancer, for lack of a better term. And he came back in a different guise to be part of the John Cena Last Time Is Now tournament, and he came back as Zack Ryder for one night, and everybody, he's such a hypocrite, he said he would never be Zack Ryder again. He did it for one night because it was Zack Ryder that John Cena had the feud with. Now he's come back. The way they brought him back, the way they did his entrance with the woo 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 and then scratching it out and starting with his new music, like he doesn't have the Always Ready that he uses in TNA, but maybe that's a copyright issue. I'm not quite sure about that. But he's got new music. He's out there as Matt Cardona. The commentators are having fun with the name change. We can't even call it the Rough Rider anymore. We have to call it the Car Ride or something along those lines. But Cardona, and I said it before, and I'll say it again, Cardona is the third in the trifecta of had to leave WWE, make a bigger name for themselves, and come back as a major star. I'm sorry, you don't want to put him in the same category as these two guys, but it's true. Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre, Matt Cardona. Those are your names that have gone out and done that. They left WWE at a time when leaving WWE could have meant you were just leaving wrestling. They were the ones that sort of put that flag out there that says, there's life outside WWE, which is a good thing, which is always a good thing, which is awesome. But now we live in a world where some of those places outside of WWE are working with WWE. There's a lot to be said about like the Vince era versus the Triple H era. One of the biggest things is the fact that they're working with other... Now, AAA is a different story. AAA they bought. AAA is theirs now. AAA is like their next ECW, except I think they're going to do it properly. But working with Noah, working with Bloodsport, working with TNA, and no, WWE does not own TNA, you cackling hacks. But I don't think any of that happens if you don't have people like Cody and Drew and Zach, now Matt, out there bridging those divides and bringing their WWE names to the indies, and then bringing the indie clout that they went out and got back to WWE. I think it's an insanely cool, like, comeback story, revamp story, recovery story, whatever you want to call it. And people will say that about Cody, people will say that about Drew. I don't think people are willing to give the same credit to Matt Cardona, and I find that really, really weird. Now, the rest of them are NXT call-ups. Now, let's talk about where WWE hiccuped a bit, and it made everybody lose their goddamn minds. Javon Evans was announced as a member of the Raw roster during a commercial break. Who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares? We've been saying for weeks that he's going to be called up. We know that he was going to be called up. WWE actually acknowledges the value of social media so that they can do these types of things. Like, how many things do you see that have happened after shows or before shows that were a dark match moment or whatever you want to call it? Because we're not dumb. They're not pretending we're dumb. We know that social media exists, and we know the conversation about him coming up to the main roster was already happening. Was it dumb to do it in the commercial break? Yes. Was it the end of the world? Was it a burial on day one? No, you're fucking retarded. And if you are a WWE fan of any sort, you have to be living under a rock to not already know who Javon Evans is. Because I'll go out on a limb and say that he's one of the most featured guys in their company. Even before call-up, he was featured prominently on Raw, prominently on SmackDown, obviously prominently on NXT as sort of his home base. He's been a big part of the NXT TNA crossover, and he's been featured in AAA because, of course, his style is going to work well with luchadors. Also, him and Leon Slater, who's getting a similar treatment even though he's not in the company, were featured prominently in a tag team title scenario on the night of John Cena's last match. And no, it wasn't a pay-per-view, but you got to know that from WWE's side of things, they were treating that like a pay-per-view. And I don't think it's on regular TV anymore. I think it's only on like Peacock and YouTube anyway. So it's not a terrestrial TV show either. So it's the midway between TV and a pay-per-view. I'm sorry, guys. I don't feel that great today. So if my voice isn't that great, I hope you'll excuse me. Solidified on Friday was Jordynne Grace joining the SmackDown roster. Now, they did a couple of weeks of, I'm here, I'm looking around, I'm weighing out my options, etc. Jordynne Grace will do better on the main roster than she did in NXT. NXT, I don't think they knew what to do with her. NXT, they brought her in at the same time as they were bringing in Stephanie Vacour and Julia and Zarya and a couple of other people. So I think it was one of those, they wanted to let you know that they had Jordynne Grace, but they didn't put her in that top spot, which is a really bad move on their part. So just hop, skipping, and jumping her to the main roster. She could have been the next AJ Styles as far as somebody that came from TNA and was just a big enough name to go directly onto the main roster. I don't think she necessarily had to go to NXT. As an NXT fan, I was happy to see her go there, but I don't think she needed to go there. If you recall AJ Styles showing up in the Royal Rumble, that famous thing where the filming was bad and you didn't see AJ Styles, you only saw Roman Reigns' response to AJ Styles. AJ Styles was the TNA guy. That's why, I mean, to a lesser extent, he was the New Japan guy as well, but I don't think they lean on that nearly as much. But he was the TNA guy. He was the guy that when you were doing fantasy booking back in the day, WWE versus TNA, of course, it would be John Cena versus AJ Styles. And then we eventually got that, and it was good. Now, if you want to take a look at that and put it on somebody like Jordynne Grace, when she was in TNA, she was that division. Not only was she the backbone of their women's division, she was mixing it up with the guys a lot. You guys will hear me on this channel. The one thing, you can talk about WWE, you can talk about AEW, the one thing that I will give TNA credit for, and the other companies should do more of it, the other companies should push back on the TV companies that they're dealing with, especially when one of them is on Netflix now, do intergender wrestling. It's fucking great. It's fucking, and don't do weird, like, Sasha Banks and Reggie, where only one side is actually supposed to get some offense in, or like I like James Ellsworth, but James Ellsworth and Becky Lynch, where the guy in the match is just there to be like a punchline in a punching bag, so that we can do a hoorah girl power thing. No, have proper guy versus girl matches. TNA that most of you are out there mocking, most of you are hoping fail on Thursday, which is weird, are mocking and hoping fail and saying all this shit about now because you might be a little bit nervous. TNA has shown both of the big dogs that it can be done, and it can be done really well. Jordynne Grace was at the forefront of that. So was Tessa Blanchard, but you're not allowed to say that, are you? Now, Trick Williams is another one that's been added to the SmackDown roster recently, and he's another one that's sort of been everywhere. He's another one that was right at the forefront of the NXT TNA working partnership, whatever, to the point where he was holding the TNA Championship, which is another reason. Yes, they could have put the NXT title on Leon Slater as a giveback, etc. I get that people are upset about that. Trick Williams, once Carmelo Hayes left, once he dug into the heel character, the all flash and sustenance and all that type of character that he's doing right now, his character as Trick Williams, as heel dickhead Trick Williams, that a lot of people call Prick Williams because they like wordplay, was fostered and given a chance to grow by being on TV twice a week instead of once a week, by bouncing between NXT and TNA. He's going to do phenomenal. They've already told you that he's a big deal by the first 3 people that he's interacted with. Sami Zayn, he interrupted Sami Zayn. Everybody loves Sami Zayn. Anybody that interrupts Sami Zayn is going to get a reaction. Second person he interrupted was Randy Orton. Randy Orton's an all-timer. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Whether you like him or not, oh, well, he's friends with Triple H, so we're not supposed to like her. He's one of the biggest names in the company currently. He's going to be feuding with Cody Rhodes sooner or later, who is the QB1, the quarterback, the hood ornament of the company. You don't get, with John Cena gone, and this is, I'm going to sound like a sappy person here for a second. With John Cena gone, you don't get much bigger than Randy Orton in that way. And then, yeah, Randy Orton hit him with an RKO. That's fine. Ask Joe Hendry how damaging and burying an RKO is when you're facing Randy Orton at WrestleMania representing TNA as their champion. It's fine. And then he went on to have his first match against Rey Fenix, who, Rey Fenix, I will be the first one to admit, has been underutilized since coming to WWE. We almost had the reunion of the Lucha Brothers at Guerra de Titan in December, but Penta got injured and that got put on the back burner, and now Penta's in this weird faction with Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee, which is going to be a lot of fun. They'll bring Rey Fenix over when they Fate the Vision. Hey! But Rey Fenix is one of the more exciting new people that they have on SmackDown, and everybody likes him. And he's got the cool entrance, and he's got the cool in-ring skill. Put him in with Trick Williams, and let Trick Williams swat him out of the sky, and get the boos that's supposed to elicit. That's how the game is played. The other one that's coming up, and we're going to talk about him twice, actually, because it has to do with the title as well. I have not seen a person in WWE get more love in video package form, in presentation form, in we made him a monster, even in NXT form, than Obafemi. Obafemi's going to come onto the main roster. It's probably going to be on Raw, because they're going to do 2 and 2. Like, they got Jordan and Trick on one side, they're going to have Javon and Oba on the other side, which is fine. Obafemi is being treated like $1 million. He's got more hype behind him than an Avengers movie. And with that being said, go back one podcast. I rambled on for about 45 minutes, all my thoughts on everything we currently know about the next Avengers movie, Avengers Doomsday. I'll caveat this. I'm saying it from the perspective of somebody that likes the movies and has never read a comic book in their life. So it's all movie-based, and it's not based on comic stuff, and it's not based on me doing shit tons of research. But if you want to hear me rambling about the MCU, go back one podcast. It'll be fine. Obafemi's going to come on, and he's going to kill people. They're making him a star before he even sets foot. He, again, was not only featured in the John Cena retirement show, he was featured against, like I said, the quarterback, the QB1, the hood ornament of the company, Cody Rhodes, when he was still WWE champion. We're going to get to that in a second. Obviously, they see big things for him, to the point where news came out over the past week or so, where they were asking people backstage, who do you think the future of the company is? Is it Braun Breaker? And a whole lot of them said, no, it's Obafemi. And look at the push, even though he didn't win the title and everybody's upset about it. Look at the push they've put behind Braun Breaker. And if they're saying he's not the guy, Oba is, what do you think's going to happen? What do you think's going to happen there? It's just like Oba versus CM Punk is a weird match that I want to look at. If Punk loses to somebody like a Gunther, and we're eventually going to go towards, maybe Gunther Sammy at WrestleMania, that's a possibility that a lot of people have spitballed. In the middle, do Gunther Oba. Do Oba Brock. I just smack some people. Oba Breaker, fine. Oba Jacob Fatu, cool. Weirdly, I'd like to see Oba versus Ilya Dragunov because it would be David versus Goliath, but they're both crazy. So that's a thing. And the last one, it's a little bit of a cheat because it's not necessarily a new face, but it's been all over the news this week as well. The next interest that WWE does have is over on the other side, waiting for his contract to expire, for all I know, and it's Powerhouse Hobbs. And I don't know, Powerhouse Hobbs comes and kills some people, Obafemi comes on and kills some people, Obafemi versus Powerhouse Hobbs wouldn't hurt my feelings. I'm just saying. So, other than the fact that Javon was introduced during a commercial break, there's a whole lot of new people in the mix. And the other side of that coin is you've left room for people that are still on NXT to step up into those places. You've left room for the Fallon Henleys and the Kendall Grays and the Blake Monroes and the JC Janes and the Ethan Pages and the Ricky Saintses and the Josh Briggses and the I don't know who else you want to mention. I mean, Leon Slater lives there half the time, so Leon Slater can have another go at the title when another champion has been. What do you want to say? When another champion has been established. Sorry, my words are escaping me. And that leads me right into the fact of our new champions. And you can't talk about a new champion without talking about the old reliable Vacant. Vacant is now the NXT champion. Vacant is the NXT champion because Obafemi vacated his NXT championship after defending it against Leon Slater. And once again, I will go back to the people that have said, oh, if you're going to vacate it, why wouldn't you just put it on Leon? He needs to walk up into the main roster as an undefeated monster. I would take your argument, and I do think it's a valid argument. Don't get me wrong, I just don't technically agree. I would take that argument if this was the title reign of Trick Williams, because Leon Slater defeating Trick Williams would have been cool, because it would have been the cocky, overconfident champion getting his comeuppance. I would have had it if it was Carmelo, because, I mean, first of all, Leon Slater versus Carmelo Hayes would be a hell of a match. Let's be real for a second. But I don't think, for the way that they're presenting Obafemi, that it works. As soon as the bell rang and we saw the belt left in the middle of the ring, after Mr. Stone went to Ava and ran to her and said, "Oh my God, you got to come out here," like somebody fucking died, which was great. Comedy in wrestling is good, but just the spotlight on the belt as he walked out. I've seen online people that were there that took the cell phone footage and whatnot. It's unfortunate because all the fans are sort of on one side, so any fan cam footage you have is shooting at the wall. That's not ideal for NXT, let's be real for a second. But the whole he leaves, the lights go out, and then it goes to the Tron because they're doing the Ava thing, and then the spotlight just hits the ring with the open belt, and there's like the ripple that goes through. It's a small crowd. We know this. One thing I will say, whenever I talk about the attendance conversation between WWE and AEW, the response is, yeah, but NXT's not doing that great. And my response is, yeah, I wish they were doing better. Next. But even in that little crowd, seeing the spotlight hit the ring, seeing the ripple go through the crowd, because we all kind of know what it means. It's the only thing more symbolic than a wrestler who's retiring, leaving their boots in the ring, vacating the title and just sort of walking off into the sunset as a monster. It would be like, and I know people are going to take this the wrong way, but I don't know, go for it, I guess. It would be like King Kong destroys everything on the island, but also destroys the island, so he walks off into the sunset to find a new island. And his new island is going to be Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw is a big fucking island with a lot of monsters on it. Let's fucking go. Who's going to be the Godzilla to Obafemi's King Kong? Is it going to be CM Punk? Is it going to be somebody more monstrous? Is it going to be like a Bronson Reed? I know I want to say Braun Breaker, but Bronson Reed and Obafemi would be really fun as well, because Bronson is a big guy, but he's sort of like the other big guy in his own group. Let Oba squash somebody like a Logan Paul, and everybody will love it, obviously. Let him squash Austin Theory. It would be great. All kinds of stuff. But vacating the title to go on to bigger and better, and as I say, it's a trickle-down effect, and trickle-down does work, by the way. He leaves a big gap in his wake, and power abhors a void. Isn't that the expression? Somebody will fill that void. Somebody will take that power, and they will move swiftly forward. I believe that it's going to either be Ricky Saints or it's going to be Ethan Page failing upwards. Because if he loses the North American Championship and then moves up and gets the NXT Championship and he's still holding the AAA Mixed Tag Team titles, it puts a bigger spotlight on him, on that title, on those titles collectively with him and Chelsea Green, who doesn't have her singles title anymore. I think that's an upward move that helps more than even one show. Because obviously it'll put more focus on the AAA titles themselves, but one of those AAA titles is held by Chelsea Green, who's on SmackDown, so there's going to be a little extra shine on a character on SmackDown, a lot of shine on a character on NXT to bring more prominence to the title belts of AAA, and everybody wins. Women's mid-card. Let's talk about the women's mid-card for a second, because we're in a very strange spot right now. Both of the champions are great. Stephanie Vacour and Jade Cargill are great. They deserve to be where they are. They deserve to be the champions that they are right now. Stephanie Vacour is kayfabe injured to cover up for some real injuries that she's dealing with. And Jade Cargill isn't going to have a real challenger for a while. They are going to Ryback her for a bit. They're going to put, like, I hate to say this, but the lower level talents against her. She's going to squash people like Mia Yim. She's going to squash people like B-Fab. She's probably going to hop over to Raw at some point and kill Maxine Dupree. She might go to NXT and kill a Thea Hale type person. But she's not going to have a proper feud, or she's not going to have a proper challenger that's an actual challenge until maybe Mania, at least the Chamber. I don't think she's going to be in the Rumble, obviously, because she's already a champion, but that's happened before. So Jade will be doing stuff, but not stuff that we can sink our teeth into. It'll just be who's Jade killing this week. And on the other side of the coin, we've got Stephanie Vacour dealing with these injuries, walking around with the boot, etc., and having her story with Raquel Rodriguez. So what it does is it sort of takes the champions out and gives the mid-card champions a chance to shine. And I mean all 5 technically, mid-card champions in the women's division. Starting with Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch won the belt back from Maxine Dupree. It was a shit show. Jake and I talked about that in the last State of Wrestling, so I'm not going to dig on this too much. Maxine Dupree didn't do that great. We all wanted her to do great, and she was the type of character that inspired us to want her to do great things. It didn't quite work. Kind of a default setting, but put it back on somebody like Becky, who not only gives it main event name value to it, but will also go out there, make herself hated, make herself a goofball, make the next person that takes that title look really strong, look like they've really done something. So putting the title back on Becky, great move. Julia regaining the U.S. title from Chelsea they were in a rock and a hard place, because Chelsea Green was doing a great thing for that title. She was the heel that everybody loved, which is a hard thing to do. And the people that want to naysay were like, oh my god, they buried Julia under this comedy character. Yeah, ask The Miz how good a career a comedy character can have. Chelsea Green came out openly and said she wants to be a Miz for the women's division, and I applaud her for that, because it's a role that needs to be filled, and not everybody can fill it. So am I happy that Julia's getting another crack at the title? Sure, I think she's really great. I don't think she's resonated on the main roster. I don't get why, because she is so great. But character-wise, I don't know what they're doing with her. Sticking her with Kiana James I get it, but I think it's a bad idea. Kiana James could be out doing her own thing. Kiana James could be somewhere else fighting for another mid-card title because she's great and shouldn't be in this weird lackey position. Because when you become the manager, when you become the lackey, when you become the friend of a champion, you just become the person that gets decked by the person that's going to go after that title next. And Kiana James, I'm sorry, is better than that. Kiana James should be in like the Maxine Dupree spot. Maxine Dupree sort of fallen on her face a little bit. I don't wish any bad on her. I don't think it's bad that we tried. Maxine Dupree is very much a Jey Uso situation. Did the Jey Uso main event run work? Most people say no. I disagree. Most people say no. Even if I was to agree, and even if I was to say, oh my god, it was terrible, which it wasn't, it still doesn't mean you don't take shots on people. Same thing with Maxine Dupree as well. We took a shot, it didn't work, let's rejig it, let's rework it, and come back in a year and see if something else works. She was stuck in the back as a backstage comedy character, not even getting any ring time on TV for a long time. Anyways, Julia's your new Women's U.S. Champion. She's going to have great matches with everybody, isn't she? She's another one, because Jordan came on and she's getting in the face of former U.S. champion Chelsea Green, who ended up facing Alba Fire in her debut on SmackDown last week. So she's beat Alba Fire. She's gonna beat Chelsea Green, who's the former champion. I believe that she's going to go after Julia next because they have a little bit of history. They cross paths in NXT. Ultimately, they're already teasing her and Jade, so I think she might go for Julia, get fucked out of that title by Jade, and just hop, skip, and jump into that main title picture, which is fine. But Julia is gonna sort of enhance anybody she goes up against. Now, going back to NXT, we've got the Women's North American Championship, which was a hell of a story that they told at New Year's Eve, where Thea Hale was supposed to defend against Blake Monroe. Blake Monroe decked her before the match started, was kicked out of the building. Thea Hale, even though she was injured, came out, had an open challenge that was almost answered by Tatum Paxley, who had won a match against Izzy Dame later on in the night, but Izzy Dame came from behind, and got in and took advantage of a beaten down Thea Hale and became the Women's North American Champion. Now, the rumors were that Blake Monroe was getting called up, and that's why all this happened. And now the rumors are she's not getting called up, but they have big plans for her for Stand and Deliver, oi, oi, oi. So maybe she's going for the main title. So now your Women's North American Championship picture in one night has Thea Hale, who's incredibly over, Tatum Paxley, who's incredibly over and just beat Izzy on the same night that she became champion, and Izzy, who's not as over, but she's the one that has something for them to chase. So they've set up an entirely new Women's North American Championship landscape on NXT in one night, which is awesome. One of the feel-good things that ended off the year last year, and yes, it happened on a tape show, which was ridiculous. Carmelo Hayes answering the open challenge of Ilya Dragunov and becoming the U.S. champion was awesome, was a lot of fun, really good match. Obviously, look at the people we're talking about in the ring. I do agree with most people where they could have saved this for the first SmackDown of the new year, but it is what it is. He's now going to continue on the John Cena Open Challenge that Sami Zayn did, that Ilya Dragunov did, etc. And they're going to keep using this as your one free space on the map every Friday night SmackDown, now that they're back to 3 hours, where you just put in a banger match just because. His first defense against Johnny Gargano, who is now Tommaso Ciampa-less and has gone back to being the Way with his wife, was really, really good. The fact that they are teasing later on down the line that he may revisit that match with Ilya Dragunov is always something that they've got on the shelf. You know, like a respectful babyface match would be really great. And he just had another defense this week against a kind of returning Shinsuke Nakamura, which was a lot of fun as well. Shinsuke Nakamura, after the match, raising his hand, putting over the new champ, etc. Carmelo Hayes, they waited a little too long with, in my opinion. Bringing him up, trying to make a new call-up heel right away. I know it works with Trick. I don't know what they're going to do with Oba, but Carmelo Hayes, the guy was a guy that we all liked watching in the ring on NXT. He's a new face, which is always fun. It's like Money in the Bank. People will cheer for Money in the Bank even if it's a heel because it's a fun thing. If you're a new name on the roster and they try to make you heel right away, but you're charismatic as hell and you're a character that we like and a wrestler that we like to watch in the ring, a heel thing isn't really going to work. And then they stuck him with The Miz, and I give all the credit in the world to The Miz. He makes himself punchable, and then when somebody punches him, they get cheered. He's a babyface. He's dripping charisma. Eventually, they're going to stick him back with Trick Williams and have Trick Mello Gang go on a tag run, which will be fun as well. But for right now, Carmelo Hayes as your United States champion. Golden. Talk about star power and people making belts, not belts making people. Your new women's tag team champions beating the Kabuki Warriors and finally getting the Kabuki Warriors off Io Sky's back. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. I'm sorry. Rhea Ripley is one of the top 5 most over people in your company. Put a belt on her, and that belt will mean something. And that's not to take anything away from Io Sky. Io Sky's fantastic in her own right, but I've said it. And you guys are sick of me saying this. I said it in the Mae Young Classic. I said it in the second Mae Young Classic. I said it in NXT UK. I said it on proper NXT. I've said it whether she's on Raw or SmackDown, whether she's a champion, whether she's not a champion, whether she's supposed to main event WrestleMania, in my personal opinion, but it is what it is. Rhea Ripley fucking star. And that's not to say nothing about Asuka, to say nothing about Kairi Sane. I think Kairi Sane is going to turn on Asuka sooner than later because they're doing the whole, like, she yells and Kairi Sane just runs and follows her and whatnot. They're going to play up that story sooner or later. There's other groups out there. I mean, they could bring up Fatal Influence and that would be a lot of fun. I don't know where else you go. This Nia and Lash group could go up against them, big powerhouse women just running at each other. Charlotte and Alexa and Io and Ripley all have this weird shared babyface respect, but not really friendship, and not really Rhea Ripley and Charlotte specifically having the history that they have. It's just a lot of fun, and it is one of those. The women's division isn't quite where it needs to be, but if the division isn't quite where it needs to be, at least put the belt on your fucking star, and that's what they've done. Same thing with the men's tag team titles on Raw. I think those are the world tag team titles. And they're back on the Usos, which is the easiest ever. Yeah, a lot of people didn't like the Jey Uso singles run because some people are allergic to fun. It is what it is. Jey Uso was over as fuck, and he was over as fuck up until the point where he won the Royal Rumble and up until the point where he won the title at WrestleMania. It's like, oh, we wanted you to succeed, but not that much. Like, fuck off. But what it did do, especially when the bloodline sort of broke up for all intents and purposes, was it left Jimmy Uso really flailing out there in the wings. Bringing these two back together is great because it's not just, they're no longer doing the whole which Uso are you thing that Roman brought up in that promo a couple of years ago. Like, Jimmy is Jimmy, Jay is Jay. They've both reestablished themselves. Jay's established himself in the main picture. Jimmy, I thought, middle of last year, I thought you were going to have a solid Jimmy Uso run for maybe the US title on SmackDown. They haven't done that. They've reunited them. They've gone back to basics, and it seems to be working so far. The crowd loves it. It looks like they're jazzed to be working together again, but there's a little bit of a more serious tone towards Jey Uso, and did they bring them back together to break them up again? Probably, sure, but in the meantime, you can run back them in the New Day for ages. When you reunite the Lucha Brothers properly on the main roster, and I'm not saying for AAA, because AAA would have been a lot of fun as well. When you reunite the Lucha Brothers on the main roster, Penta and Phoenix, you're a dumbass. It's promotional malpractice if you do not push the reunited Lucha Brothers versus the Usos at WrestleMania. It is. It just is. We're going to be bringing, I'm predicting already, because there's going to be a 4-on-4 situation at some point with Rey Mysterio, Dragon Lee, Penta versus The Vision. They're going to bring over Phoenix to Raw at some point. Once he's there, you do Usos versus Lucha Brothers. It's the biggest tag match you have right now. And that's no disrespect to anybody else. That's no disrespect to teams like Fraxium and the Motor City Machine Guns, who are not being used very well at all. It's no disrespect to the New Day, who had a heel turn, and then the heel turn had no balls to it. It's not, but it's the biggest thing you can do right now. The Usos, like, it's weird with the New Day, because the New Day was at its peak a trio where you kind of had to go, okay, which two of them are wrestling tonight and whatever, and some of the goofy stuff went a little bit over the line. Doesn't take away from the fact that they're great wrestlers, but the Usos are probably the most over tag team in modern memory. And no, I'm not going to say except the Bucks, because the Bucks are just wannabe Hardy Boys. Anyways, moving swiftly on. The last one we got is the one we got 2 days ago, and it's Drew McIntyre beating Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. Now, the biggest thing about all this is this match facilitated the return of Jacob Fatu, who went after both of them. Everybody was predicting that, oh, it's going to be the heel turn of Cody Rhodes. It's going to be where Jacob Fatu comes in and we think he's going to attack Drew, but he attacks Cody instead. Kind of does the Jade Cargill thing when Jade Cargill came in and we thought she was going to attack Liv Morgan, but she attacked Naomi. You could have done a similar thing with Jacob and Cody and revealed that Cody was a dickhead and start the Cody heel run that I really want to see. But he just took out both of them. So it's a much simpler, like, I'm Jacob Fatu, I'm a wrecking ball, I'm going to take out whoever's in my way in my pursuit of my own WWE Championship, which is great. It means that Cody can feel wronged. It means that Cody can be pissed off. Please don't cry anymore, and please don't show me any more pictures of your dad, because it's a little played out. And Drew McIntyre, who got the cheapest win imaginable, can act like it was his WrestleMania moment. And he's really good at that. What was the first tweet that he put out at work? It was like him in bed with the belt, and the caption was "No longer bored at work." That's fucking great. Drew McIntyre's a great dickhead. Cody Rhodes is a really great, either actually virtuous or faux virtuous wronged party. And while Drew McIntyre is like falsely confident with this new victory and Cody Rhodes is distracted being all upset about his loss, Jacob Fatu can just come in and kill both of them. He can just come in and kill both of them. Guaranteed he's in the Rumble. Guaranteed he has a hell of a run in the Rumble. There's guys in the Rumble this year. There's 3 or 4 people in the Rumble this year that I could make a case for. They need to eliminate the most people. Like, they need to eliminate more than half the field. Breaker should. Jacob should, Obafemi should if he's in it, but they can't all do it, and the only other option is have them be the first 3 guys in the match. Jacob Fatu, Braun Breaker, like, you're representative from Raw, you're representative from SmackDown, locking horns like we've wanted to see for a while, and then 3, 2, 1, the third entrant is Obafemi. You set a stage for a great Rumble with those first 3 names. And then, you know, at number 30, break the walls down, but that's another story for another day. I don't know what to say. I don't know what I'm saying here. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of moving pieces. And a lot of this, like me and Jake have said quite a bit, a lot of it is very structural to set up for the next move. But the setup for the next move is a move on its own. We got Cardona, we got Javon, we got Jordan, we got Trick. We're about to get Oba. They're looking at getting Hobbs, which I'm kind of excited about. NXT title's totally vacant. It's up for grabs, which is the most interesting story you can tell. Becky's got the IC title again. Julia's got the US title again. Izzy wormed her way into the North American Championship, but she's got 2 very, very hot, very, very over acts coming for her for that title. One of them's got a chainsaw. Carmelo Hayes as the US champ was one of the feel-good moments to end the year last year. Rhea Ripley's a fucking star, bringing Io along for the ride, and I mean that respectfully, carrying those women's tag team titles into 2026. The Usos have returned to tag team wrestling and claimed their gold within weeks, and Drew McIntyre finally, at least in his own mind, has vanquished Cody Rhodes and reclaimed what he sees to be his WWE Championship. So you can say that you don't like some of the stuff that's going on. You can say that you're bummed for Leon. You can say that you're bummed we didn't get Breaker destroying Punk. You can say that we haven't had Jericho Page and Baker and people of those ilks return ... yet. But what you can't do is say that as WWE turned the page from 2025 to 2026 that they didn't do anything. I'm sorry, you're just lying to yourself, and I'm pretty sure I know where you are on a Wednesday night. Anyways, I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.